Ladies and gents, boys and girls all over the world. Do it like I'm doing it for TV, yeah, you heard. But man of the year 2 times and a third. Chatting with the sheriff, yeah, you gon' learn. Sheriff podcast where respect is earned. Wanna be a guest, gotta wait your turn. Oh yeah, come and kick it with the kick it with the sheriff when the stars emerge. Control the game with my fist, now it's stripes. Spitting chicklets, had to kick it, I went viral for life. Pack a lunch when I come, 4th all-time fights. Yeah, 523, that's paying the price. Holy sheriff round here with my name shining bright. Lights, camera, action, Danny G make it right. Walking to the room, chatting with the sheriff advice. 2-time record holders.
Welcome everybody to an exclusive edition of The Sheriff. Boy, oh boy, would Don Cherry be proud, and do I ever have a treat for you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my favorite time when I was a kid watching hockey was the early 90s. I had true life heroes and people that I really looked up to. My guest tonight was part of that 90s Toronto Maple Leafs team, and I'm going to introduce him right now. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all over the world, I would like to introduce to you my guest tonight. He hails from Oshawa, Ontario. At 6'1", 210 pounds, he is a heavyweight. He was drafted 12th overall in the 1989 NHL entry draft. He played for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Washington Capitals, and St. Louis Blues. He won Coach of the Year with the Pickering Panthers in 2022. Over 400 career professional hockey games. The current head coach and GM of the Pickering Panthers. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mr. Rob Pearson, thank you very much for coming on the show, my man.
Thank you.
Now, Rob, right off the hop.
First off, I got to say, that was amazing. And, to be announced like that is amazing, makes you feel good, and for an old man like myself, and I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
I just wanted to let you know right off the hop that there was a bunch of sites that said that you were 6'1", and a bunch of other sites that said that you're 6'3". But now that you're right beside me, it's got to be 6'3", my man.
100% 6'3", and I'm a little heavier than 205 or 210 now also. So I've been enjoying my retirement, and maybe a little too much sometimes.
Right on, right on. Well, I appreciate the honesty, and I want to apologize. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 6'3", definitely not 6'1". So now, Rob, my style, what I like to do is I really like to go to the beginnings. I like to find out where my guests started and how these big characters were created. So we're going to Oshawa, my friend. You we're born in Oshawa, right?
Absolutely.
Right on. So I kind of wanted to talk about mom and dad and the relationship that you had with them as a young lad. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
No, I think it's great. Both my parents, my dad, Rob Pearson, he worked for General Motors, and then he switched over to EDS. And my mom was a nurse. She worked at the hospital for many years and then switched over after about 25 years into the real estate side of it. They've been great supporters of me throughout my career, and whether I was playing or coaching, and it's been fantastic. They both still reside in Oshawa.
Right on, man, and I appreciate you sharing that. So now, I heard something pretty interesting, that your mom's a nurse, or was a nurse. So now, so is mine.
Oh,
okay?
Beautiful.
So what I wanted to discuss with you is, me, my brothers and sisters, growing up playing hockey, we kind of used my mom before the trainers of our team. When we were injured, when we were sick, we would go to her before those trainers. Was it the same for you?
I don't know. I was a bit of that type of player who... I didn't really go home and complain too much when I got home, and if I did, I think my dad used to say the words of, why don't you go play tiddlywinks or something like that. And but I will say, he was a quiet guy at the rink. He never pushed me. My mom didn't push me, but any injuries, they were broken bones, and I was going to the hospital, so I didn't really need anyone to really help out in that situation.
Right on, brother. I really appreciate you sharing that. Another question that I had, Rob, was at what age did you start skating? That's always a big one.
So that was a little different for me. I like to say I was a bit of a late bloomer. Okay. I wanted to play hockey, but I didn't really want to. So my dad actually came and asked if I wanted to play, and at 7 years old. And,
wow.
I said no. I ended up saying I'd rather go on the court, play with my neighborhood friends and, pop caps on the curbs and just do some wild things like that. And so I waited till I was 8. My dad came back. He said, "Do you want to play?" And I said, "Sure, I'll try it." And I ended up playing in the OCHL, which is the church league here in Oshawa.
Right on, right on. That's awesome. So now, next question for you. When you did start, Rob, did you catch on right away, or were you a little bit late in catching on with the stride and the actual hockey sense of the game?
Yeah, I would say 100% I caught on right away.
Nice.
The skating stride was way behind, and it obviously affected me once I got to the NHL, that's for sure. I wasn't the greatest skater, but I had the desire. I had the desire to score goals. I had the desire to get to the dirty areas. That was not an issue, even as a late bloomer coming in late or starting at 8 years old. It was a fun time, and I really enjoyed mucking it up.
Right on. I appreciate you sharing that. So, Rob, you got to excuse my singing ability, but I'm going to do a little song that's going to bring some memories back to you, okay?
I already know. All right.
Pee-wee, wee, 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 vive the Pee-wee Carnaval. So, this is referring to the Quebec Pee-wee tournament. Whenever I see that my guests participate in this tournament, man, I got to bring it up. It was one of the best experiences I ever had leading up to 13 years old. How was it for you, my friend?
Do you know what? I remember to this day that we went there. It was one of our first trips to Quebec as a family. You get to go for a couple weeks, which was awesome. It wasn't just about hockey. And I remember going on to Mount St. Anne for the first time ever skiing.
Yep.
And I really had no idea what moguls were at the time. And I just went flying down the hill, and I was jumping every mogul. And surprisingly, I didn't kill myself or get injured. But and you know what? The best thing I think about the Pee Wee tournament back then was billeting with families.
Oh, yes.
We got to see the different culture, and we had a great time. There was either one or two. The Odd House had 3 kids from the team that got to stay there, and we had such a great time that when I was coaching in Clarington at 8 and 9 years old, we ended up having one of our own tournaments, and we started billeting teams coming in.
Wow.
Because I wanted kids to have the same experience and families to have. And I know to this day Clarington still does teams like Finland and stuff like that at Christmas, and they offer billeting because it's such a great experience to learn other people's culture and just to get a chance to have different mom and dads for a week.
Absolutely. And like the thing that I thought was most cool about it was one thing, the length of time that we were there. It was like you said, about 2 weeks long that we were there. So now these families in Quebec, I mean, they took us in, they treated us like one of their own. The house that I was at was incredible. I'm sure you had a similar experience. I want to give a shout out to all those, because I know the Quebec tournament, I think it's coming up pretty soon. I want to give a shout out to all those families that are billeting all the teams from all over the world. I think it's absolutely incredible. So thanks for sharing your experience, Rob. I appreciate that a lot. Right now, we're going to jump to your midget season, Rob. Now, when I was doing my notes, I thought maybe there was a typo. I couldn't get over this. So I'm gonna let the viewers and listeners know what your stats were that year. We got 72 games played, 68 goals in 72 games. Let's add 65 assists to that for 133 points. 133 points in 72 games. Let's add 188 penalty minutes. No big deal. We almost hit in 200 PIMs. Rob, do you remember that season?
Yeah, it was an unbelievable year. We had great friends. I think we had 9 guys drafted off that team that went to the OHL. And
9 players?
9 players drafted off of that team. So, yeah, we were very successful. At the time, it was the Air Canada Cup. We went to the Air Canada Cup all the way. And it was just a great opportunity. And that team is actually in the Hall of Fame in Oshawa. So pretty excited and pretty proud of all those guys on that team.
So the team was voted into the Hall of Fame for how well you guys did that year, or how many players were drafted? What was the reason for that?
It was the overall. Every city has their own Hall of Fames, and we look at all sports, whether it's hockey, baseball, football, basketball, lacrosse, anything. And someone recognized our team winning all Ontarios.
Wow.
Going to Air Canada and having all the guys drafted. It was just a one-on opportunity that someone put us forward, and we made the Hall of Fame there as a group.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. I did not know that, so I love learning new things every single day, Rob. So now, here's a very interesting part of the show here. So now, this is when you're coming into the OHL. I looked everywhere, man, but I couldn't find your draft position in the OHL. I'm assuming that it was right up top. Were you one of the first couple picks, or like, well, what was the situation with the OHL draft?
I was drafted in the first round to the Belleville Bulls.
Yes, to Belleville.
I believe it was 9th overall.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
So 9th overall. So now we're going to go over a couple of these years with Belleville. You were great right off the hop, but what I was most impressed with was the second year in Belleville. So the second year in Belleville, Rob, 58 games, 48 goals, 40 assists for 88 points. So now, I recently had the Big E, Eric Lindros, on my show. You have some connections with the Big E, Eric Lindros.
Absolutely.
So now, I want you to talk about what it was like getting traded to the Oshawa Generals when the Big E was on that team. I'm assuming you were his right winger. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Please share a little bit about that experience, my friend.
Yeah, I think it was a great thing. Belleville was a big ice surface, and I think I've mentioned I wasn't the greatest skater. So it was great for me to be sent home to Oshawa. It worked out both really well for both teams. Gerald Scaldi, which was a great skater, good player in the OHL, and obviously on to the NHL. And he did well in Belleville, and I ended up lining up with Eric Lindros, and I truly believe it was a great match right from the very first go of the game, and we just took off from there, and we just had a feeling, and we knew where each player was going to be on the ice. And I'll be up front, like he used to dominate that series, that league, and I would just get to open areas, slots, or anything like that, and he would put pucks on my stick without even looking. He was such a great player, and I appreciated my time with Eric, and being able to see him grow up and develop and then move on to the NHL was pretty exciting for me.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Rob. So now, we got to let the viewers and listeners know, and I like to give credit when credit's due. Now, I know the Big E was, a generational player and whatnot, but, I think Rob Pearson might have had a little bit to do with his stats, because I want to tell them yours. So, in the 1990-91 season, Mr. Rob Pearson, only 41 games played, 51 goals, 52 assists, 57 goals, 52 assists for 109 points. Okay, so now 109 points. The Big E was probably a little bit more, but you were a big part of that. You were a big part of his stats. A line that works good together, because sometimes the sky could be the limit. I'm pretty sure that was the situation with you guys.
Yeah, I think it was just a great match from the get-go. I think we were two big bodies that could play with the puck, without the puck. And his ability to create room out there on the ice and push people back, it was great for us. And, we both could put the puck in the back of the net, so it came natural for us, and it was a great experience for sure.
Now, do you think that your skating stride got a little bit better having to keep up with the Big E? Because I heard that he was always the biggest, fastest, and strongest person on the ice. To keep up with that centerman, you must have gotten better skating-wise, Rob.
I think at that level, my skating was fine. It was just going to the next level, to the pro level. That's when I had a little more difficult. When you're trying to keep up to those guys' speed, it's a little difficult at times. But that level, for sure, I could keep up to Big E. But he was definitely faster.
Right on. So now I want to talk about the playoff run that year. Again, I looked in many different spots. You had 16 games played, 16 goals in 16 games. Let's add 17 assists for 33 points in 16 playoff games. How did you guys do that year? Did you guys win the O? Did you get into the Mem Cup? Were you guys close to the finals? What was the situation?
So we ended up going all the way to the finals.
Okay.
We lost against the Sioux. I think we were
damn Sioux.
The damn Sioux, yeah. They went 3 years in a row from beating us that year. They followed it up with 2 more years. They had a really good team. Drake Barahowski was on that team.
Oh, wow.
Who I got to play with in Toronto a little bit, and we became good friends, and he's coaching now on the East Coast. So, we went to the finals against them, and it was a good push. I think during that whole series, the playoff series, it was a bloodbath. And we were missing kind of the bigger physical part maybe on the back end to make that extra push through. And yeah, it was just a great series. Sometimes you got to tip your hat to the other team.
Sometimes you have to. And you know what? When you shake in the line, if it was a big battle and you guys gave it your own, you gave it everything you got, sometimes it's okay to say, you know what, congratulations, I wish you guys the best, because you know that you gave it your all, and that's what competition is all about. It looks like it was that way.
Yeah, it was. And I do remember one part of it, the playoff run is Rick Karnakia came up to me. He was our head coach, and he said, Rob, what's going on? Since you've been here, you've been pretty good at going to school, and playoffs turn around, and all of a sudden, game days, you're not going to school. I'm getting calls from the school. And I kind of just looked at Rick. I said, hey, I'm preparing for the playoffs here. I'm getting ready for the games, and you want to win, maybe turn a blind eye and let's get at it. Let's go win some hockey games. And at the end of the day, him and the Austria General said, no, that's not the way we do things here. Yes. You're going to school, so Absolutely. Get to school and we'll still make it to the finals. So,
and the thing is, Rob, the Oshawa Generals as an organization, they kept to that level, because when I played for Oshawa about 10 years later, I had George Burnett, Mike Fuda, and others coaching, and man, were they ever on us. I remember Mike Fuda, talking to my mom after games saying, Sheila, Sean's got to listen more. He's got all the potential in the world. We need him to listen. So I appreciate how hard the Oshawa Generals are on the players, because for us growing up and growing, it's exactly what we need.
Absolutely. I think the Generals do a great job in producing NHL caliber hockey players. I think they produce great young men after the OHL if they're not going to move on and play pro. And that's definitely one of the reasons. And Colleen used to be there. I'm sure you knew Colleen in the office.
Absolutely.
And she was always there to push you and say, get to school and make sure you're doing your homework. So that was a big part of it also. Just a great organization.
Okay, man. So now here's the part of the show that I'm really excited about, Rob. Now, I'm a kid that was born in Vancouver, grew up in Scarborough. I like to call myself the Canadian kid from Scarborough. And one reason is because I used to watch Hockey Night in Canada, the Toronto Maple Leafs against whoever they were playing, every Saturday night with my grandfather and my great uncle Frank. That was a tradition for me. So now you, my friend, you played for the team when I first became a Leaf super fan, right? In the 90s, I'm 43 years old, so anybody that's around my age can understand what I'm saying. And I'm going to list off some names of your former teammates. Doug Gilmour, Wendell Clark, Dave Andrechuk, Todd Gill, Dave Ellett, Peter Zezel, my second autograph ever, as well as Mike Foligno. Everybody knows Mike Foligno from that playoff goal and his weird helmet. Yep. So now, I want to ask you, for me, I'm a kid that's mesmerized by these players. For you, you were a kid too, because you were young at that time. Yep. So what was it like playing with some of these guys? I know Dougie had just got traded to Toronto, I think, right? Yep. So, it must have been a whirlwind for you.
Yeah, I was fortunate. My dad and my mom have had season tickets since the early 70s.
Really?
And he since has transferred them over into my name, so we have them for our family, and we still
We're going to have to talk after the show here, Robbie.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we've been Leaf fans our whole life, and for me, my dad would always take us down, and I'd always get the New York Islanders games because I liked Mike Bossy.
Oh, yes.
And that's probably one of the coolest things I've got is I've got an Idols card that has Mike Bossy on it, and then me in the kind of the background as he's my idol. That when I was growing up, I loved the way he scored goals, and he was a great hockey player, obviously winning 4 cups and all that. So
hold on, let me interrupt you. You're saying that there's a card, a Mike Bossy card, where you're in the background?
I'm actually a small player on the front of his chest, but it's Mike Bossy and then me there, and it's called Idols.
Wow.
So the company, back in the 90s, it became really big, obviously the hockey cards.
Wow.
And that was one of the things they did for upcoming players playing in the NHL.
Yeah,
that's super cool.
Yeah, that is super cool.
My brother-in-law actually got one signed and got it framed and everything for me, so that was pretty cool.
Really, right on. Yeah. Now, the one thing about Mike Bossy, what I've learned recently is this guy, not only is he winning the scoring titles, but he retired when he was like 30 years old.
Yeah.
Very early. So I guess his scoring had gone down a little bit, and he told his teammates, you know what, if I can't be the top guy, I'm out of here. So, I mean, that's an example of an elite player, a very, very elite player. So I totally understand why you looked up to Mike.
I think he had some injuries too. I think he had the back injury too.
Yes.
That kept him from becoming that elite player, and I think that's why, for health reasons too, he moved on.
Mike Bossy, true legend of the game. Big shout out to Mike Bossy.
But yeah, it was great, like you said, playing with all those guys. And, Wendell Clark is probably one of the best captains I've ever seen.
Oh, man.
The way he performed on the ice, the way he threw his body out there for his team. It's too bad that he never won a cup. He's one guy that I would look back and say I think really deserved, at least an opportunity to play in the Stanley Cup Finals. And what he did for the Toronto Maple Leafs was fantastic.
Absolutely. So, but you know who we have to blame for that is the great one, Mr. Wayne Gretzky, with that high stick on Doug Gilmour.
I thought you were going to say Carey Fraser.
Yeah. Carey Fraser too, man. Carey Fraser, man. Don't worry, bro. We're going to get to you. But yeah, no, all fun and games. I mean, Wendell, probably, I would say, as you just mentioned, probably one of the best leaders to not have a Stanley Cup. And one of my favorite players of all time. It's so cool that you got to play with him, brother. That's
amazing.
Unbelievable.
I love that, too. Later on, I got to play with Wayne Gretzky in St. Louis. He was traded there, and I was there in St. Louis.
Yes.
I walked into the medical room, and he was casually just sitting there getting ready for a game, and they started talking about the Leafs in that year, and he got a hat trick there in the final game, and I said, oh, you only beat us because of Carey Fraser, and he looked at me dead serious.
So you said that to him?
Oh, yeah. He looked right at me, dead serious, straight eyeball. He goes, were you on that team?
Hey, were you playing tonight?
Yeah,
like
did
one
you?
Of those, right?
I didn't know you played for that team.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, no, I
great
mean,
guy. Oh, it was good.
Wayne's got a great sense of humor, which he displayed when he read out the starting lineup for Team Canada last night. Did you hear the comment he made? He's like, yeah, they wanted me to do a starting lineup. They're not paying me, but I mean, I might as well just do it. I thought it was hilarious the way that he said it. Must have a great sense of humor. Very cool that you got to play with the great one as well, my friend.
Amazing.
Yes. So just moving along, Rob, I mean, your career was so dynamic. I know that you had some other runs with NHL teams, but I just want you to quickly talk about your experience in the DEL in Germany. One of the best leagues in Europe. I know I have a lot of buddies that had a chance to play over there. How was your experience playing across the pond?
Yeah, it was great. DL and the DEL and Switzerland were the two top leagues at the time when I went over, and I was almost in retirement mode, and a friend of mine that played on that minor midget team with me, Chris Snell, he's a local boy from Oshawa. He had mentioned to the team that if you need a big right winger, rugged guy to come out and play, come on out. And so they ended up giving me a call last minute, and I flew out and had a year there. So I ended up getting hurt twice, and but I ended up going around seeing a lot of castles, and family toured around, and my son was born that year. So
wow. So was he born in Germany?
He was actually born in Canada.
Okay.
It was actually before 9/11, and then she flew over later on, about 2 months later into the season.
Okay, that's some pretty cool stuff. Yeah. Right on. So now, Rob, currently head coach and GM of the Pickering Panthers.
Yep.
I saw a little interview about how you got started into coaching. Do you mind just explaining real quick that first gig of coaching, and then we'll try to go through it a little bit?
Okay, so I started out coaching just as my son when he was 4 and 5.
Yes.
And then Marlon Muellert called me from UIT, the university just started in Oshawa.
Yeah.
And once he called, he just said, would you like to come up and be an assistant coach? And he gave me my my passion, to be honest. I fell in love with coaching, and I had to leave there, and I went back and followed my son through his minor hockey and just wanted to be involved. I only have one son, so I didn't want to miss out on it. Family's very important to me, and I wanted to make sure I was there for him. So I coached all the way through, and then once we're in our minor midget year, the Whippy Fury owner, Mark Bull, came reaching to me and said, hey, we want your son and we want you. Can you come to the Fury and coach our junior A hockey club?
Right on. So just quickly, I mean, you guys won the championship just a couple seasons ago. That must have been an incredible year. Can you talk about that year a little bit, if anything stands out to you?
Well, I think it's, my owner, Richard Pilosoff at the time, came to me when he hired me and said, I want to win a championship, and I'm going to do everything possible for you, Rob, to get that done. He was a great owner. He gave us everything we needed. We got a bunch of guys in here. We had to make sure they could come together as a team. And once they learned how to come together, really, truly, the players took off and they did it on their own. And we were very successful. And Pickering hasn't had it ever, really, to be honest. And in 50 years, it was just a great year overall for the Pickering Panthers, for the city of Pickering. And we brought a winning culture here, and we want to continue a winning culture in Pickering.
Absolutely. So now, Rob, I was on this team 20 plus years ago. We won the Eastern Conference. The Pickering Panthers have a strong history of having very good teams, very good management. We take care of the players here. The billets are incredible. I recommend anybody to come to the Pickering Panthers prospect camp. Can you talk about that a little bit? That's shortly coming up.
Yeah, since I've been involved with the Pickering Panthers, the prospect game is one thing. Not only is it a game, you get 3-4 games out of it. You get to come here, showcase your talent, and it's really an opportunity to make our team. I usually sign anywhere from 3 to 4 kids out of that camp. Really? That I have not seen at all year long, and I really believe in letting parents know that you do have an opportunity to, when you come here. If you come and put your skates on and come in that camp, you have an opportunity to make our team. Come showcase your talents, come be involved in there and be ready to play that weekend, and you have an opportunity. I think over the last 4 years, we've probably taken about 12 to 14 kids out of the camp.
Guys, you've heard it here from the coach and GM. Pickering Panthers prospect camp coming up. I don't have the dates on me right here, but you can look it up. Opportunity to make this team and to make something of your life. That's incredible. Rob, I mean, I could keep you here all night. We got a big game tonight. We have a big game tonight. We need you to rally up the troops. I want to thank you for coming on the show, buddy. I am a big fan of yours. I really appreciate you so much, Rob. Thank you so much for coming on, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go Panthers.
Let's go Panthers. Woo! Thank you, Rob. I appreciate you. So we are definitely not done here. We got Mr. Clark. Now, Mr. Clark, Luby. Mr. Clark Luby, the marketing and communication manager for the Pickering Panthers. So we're just going to talk about a couple things, Clark.
Yeah, I know I'm not going to be a tough act to follow, Rob, so...
Right on. Well, you know what? From the moment that I met you, brother, I mean, me and Luke Chason were called back for an alumnus appearance, and man, we were treated like kings. Me and Luke still talk about it. We really appreciate how much you made us feel comfortable, and it was an incredible night. So first, I want to say thank you for that night. Okay.
Absolutely. No, thank you. We appreciate your support, and
no problem at all.
Part of the tradition here.
Yeah, and it is a big tradition here in Pickering. So I wanted the listeners and viewers just to understand, what does a marketing and communication manager do?
Well, it's in this day and age, social media is such a big opportunity, I'll call it.
Absolutely.
It's for the most part free advertising, and so we've really focused this year on trying to showcase the players, showcase the product, because I call it social proof. If we do this and people see what we've got, they're more apt to come and see us play.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's been a big focus. It also gives the players, we found it as a good recruitment tool, that we've had some players, they watch what we're doing from other teams, and they know they're going to get exposure here, which is something that we kind of was a side effect of doing it, to be honest.
I appreciate you sharing that. So I also wanted to talk about like how did you get started with the Panthers? Like where did you see the opportunity, and how did you jump and get it?
I always wanted to be involved in sports, but I went the insurance route. So safe, steady job.
Yes.
My dad and a lot of his family were in the insurance world, and my first Maple Leafs game, I really fell in love with Paul Morris's voice as the PA announcer for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the late Paul Morris. He just passed away, I think, last week. And
God bless his soul.
Yeah, a great, just such a cool voice, and there's so many kids out there that imitated him, and I was one of those kids. We'd play road hockey games in the street, and I would imitate him, his voice. So yes. I was sort of getting, I'm in my 50s now, and I thought maybe
you're 35, Clark.
No. So
Clark, come on. There you go. You look good. You look great for your age, Clark.
Thank you. So I thought, you know what? If you're going to do this PA thing, why don't you start looking around? And the Oshawa Generals had a fill-in announcer position on their website, and I applied for it, and I had no PA experience. So guess what? I didn't hear from them. So I thought the strategy would be to go down a level or two.
Yes.
And so I thought of the Panthers. I grew up in Pickering, so I knew the Panthers from my teenage years, came to the games and called here, and it was just as COVID was sort of lifting.
Yep.
They hadn't, I talked to the guy that head of game day operations, and they just sort of said, this guy wants to be a PA announcer if we've got time or space for him, and they'd already hired somebody new, and they said, well, we'll definitely call you.
Okay.
And I said, wait a sec, you haven't heard my voice?
Yeah.
Other than this little chat we're having.
Yeah.
Do you not want to hear a demo reel that I spent, 12 hours making for the Oshawa Generals? But he's like, oh yeah. So I just was like, I'll take it. And then about a month later, I got a call that the PA announcer, and COVID was really tough for a lot of people.
Yes,
but I got lucky because the announcer at the time for the Panthers got COVID.
Yes.
And he was off for that. That time was 14 days, I think you had to be off for.
Yes.
So they called me and they said, we need you to come in here, not just for one game, but for 5 games, starting tonight.
Oh, wow.
And I was at lunch.
Right on the spot.
I was at lunch. They called. It was a text message, actually, and I got a text, and it said, starting tonight. I was on my second beer. It was a Friday. And I just pushed the beer aside, and I said, okay, I got to get ready for this now. So that's how I got in here. And then I took a real interest in the organization. And this year I sort of put my hand up and said I'd love to be more involved. And social media was an area they really needed help, and other stuff we're trying to do to grow the interest in the Panthers. So that's how I got here.
Right on. So Clark, I wanted to talk about the current state of this league. So now, in my opinion, this product of Junior A hockey is the best quality for your buck. But you're going to pay whatever admission it is for the arenas in this league, but I believe that it is the best quality hockey for what you're paying for. Do you agree?
I definitely agree. I mean, Junior A is the highest level, I guess, before you start hitting the Ontario Hockey League.
Absolutely.
And so talking about price, it's $15 to come to a Panthers game. It's
only $15.
10 for students and seniors, and guess what? If you wear a jersey, if you're part of a local hockey association or dance association or any club association, you wear your sportswear, you get in for free.
Okay, so if you wear any hockey jersey, you get in the Pickering Panthers game for free.
We like it if it's associated with a youth
yes.
hockey. It could be Ajax, it could be anywhere around. Durham region.
So local hockey jersey, you get into this rink.
Or lacrosse, or volleyball, or ringettes, any local dance, like I said, yeah.
Okay, right on. And you know what? That is incredible information to know, because if I was growing up in Pickering and I knew that I could just throw on a Pickering Panthers jersey and get into this rink, I'd be doing that. So ladies and gentlemen, listen to these facts. This is incredible information. Appreciate it. I'm in my glory right here, guys. This is my former team. Everybody's treating me great. We're having a great time. And I want to thank the viewers and listeners for tuning in to another episode of The Sheriff. End it like that.
That'll do.
We'll see you guys next time. Woo!
Thanks, Sean.